And we're going to start with the Suns traveling roadshow, the circus traveling to Denver to visit the Nuggets. Western Conference semifinals, 2-2. Tied up there, pivot point game. Oh, it's a pivot point game. That's so exciting, unless it's not. Maybe not. If you're not a fan of Denver or Phoenix, probably not. But don't worry, we watched. We got you covered on that. We were checking it out. So it's our good mitzvah of the day. And Nikola Jokic, do you think he sucked at a time you cannot suck? No. He filled up the score sheet with a little bit of this and a little bit of that. 29 points, 13 rebounds, and 12 assists. As we call that, back in the old country, we call that a triple-double. He's, in fact, passed Wilt Chamberlain by for the most triple-doubles by a center. Of course, keep in mind, for most of NBA history, centers did not even try to pass. So it's one of those fugazi stats that we've come up with the modern era because Shaquille O'Neal, Hakeem Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing, you think of some of the great centers back in the old days, and they didn't even attempt to pass. Rarely did they attempt to pass. And so Jokic, though, triple-double. The Suns overwhelmed by the Nuggets in the third quarter. It was the first quarter, and then Phoenix came back, and then the third quarter domination. Turn out the lights. The party's over. So 3-2 now. The Nuggets have the lead. They have the brief stranglehold on the series. Game 6 will be back in the Valley of the Sun coming up later in the week. But the better story is on that side. The team that walks out with their tail between their legs. The losers. We love losers. We love losers. And so let us discuss the question. What the heck went sideways for the Suns in this game? So I've got overdosed, bellhop, and arithmetic. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make a nice migraine headache, which I would think, if they care, the Suns would have right now. So, some things are not that difficult to analyze and break down, and this is one of those things. It's an Occam's razor situation. The simplest answer is the correct answer, is the right answer. You go with that answer. So Phoenix was caught flat-footed here at the beginning of the game. They then got back in the game, and then the Nuggets stepped on their neck. They stepped on the gas in the third quarter. They came out more energized, and it's kind of like a drag race. I used to, back in the day, they used to have these things called drag races, and you had one car that was the Lamborghini, and that would be Denver. They were driving the nice cherry red Lamborghini. And then on the other side, you had Phoenix, and they had an old school throwback vehicle. They had a horse and buggy, and that's what it looked like in the third quarter. Devin Booker and Kevin Durant getting whiplash after halftime. The Nuggets peeling rubber in that third quarter there as the Suns were left at the starting blocks, dazed and confused, and they played in the first 8 or 9 minutes of the third quarter. And by the time they figured things out, it was done, but good night. But they played like they had overdosed Phoenix on melatonin, that they were double fisting melatonin at halftime. Man, they had that sleepy look to them. Wowzers. It became, at that point, it became a dog pile. As it's kind of like when you're trying to do the dishes, the dirty dishes, and people are still eating and they're putting dishes and forks and spoons and cups in the sink, and you're like, no, I'm a dishwasher at my house, and I try to do the dishes, and then so you keep putting more dishes in. It's annoying. I'm trying to get ahead of the dishes, and you can't get ahead of it. And then the trench opened up. Devin Booker, 1 of 8 in the third quarter, while the walls were caving in. Now, Kevin Durant was 3 of 3, and to some people that was a great performance. You can't rip Durant in the third quarter when things went upside down and topsy-turvy. But I would argue he was too passive. He needed to be more aggressive, and he was a liability defensively in that, with a wink and a nod also to DeAndre Ayton, who is auditioning for a role in a elementary school play. He will be playing the Statue of Liberty. DeAndre Ayton, shouldn't you be able to slow down Nikola Jokic a little bit? I mean, Ayton, I thought, was number one pick, old steroid guy back in the day and all that. But DeAndre Ayton, wowzers, nothing. In that third quarter, Nikola Jokic, 17 of his 29 points in the third quarter, and that was a body blow, and it was a mortal blow is what it was for Phoenix. And late in the third quarter, we also saw some classic NBA theatrics during the Suns huddle. Bruce Brown came over there to the huddle from Denver, and he was like a spy because they were huddling up on the court. It was like an impromptu meet and greet, and that did not go over well as it led to some pushing and shoving, and Durant pushed Nikola Jokic, who acted like he had been given the atomic elbow when he went flying back. And Durant did show more effort and energy, though, in that exchange than he did on defense in that stretch of the game. Now, page 2 here. When the game was close between Phoenix and Denver, the Suns' backups were non-factors. Landry Shamet. You can't sham it all day. You can't sham it all night. 0 for 3 through 3 quarters with 1 point. This is the guy that went bonkers in the last game and was the difference maker, outplayed everybody on the court back in the last game in Arizona. In this game, 0 for 3 when the game was somewhat competitive through 3 quarters. And the Phoenix bench, statistically, they put some points up in garbage time, but there were no real impact performances there. And so how come the secondary actors mostly vanished for Phoenix? So I have a theory on this. I blame the bellhop. Here. These supporting actors suffer from aerophobia. They have a fear of flying. And we've seen this my entire life. They hate the takeoff and the landing. Other than that, they don't mind traveling. And I remember years ago when I was a young pup and I was out around the NBA, there was this Hall of Fame coach, you have no idea who this guy is, named Bill Fitch. He coached the Celtics and the Rockets, and later on, at the end of his career, he coached the Clippers. And that's when I knew him. And we were talking about some of the secondary players and how they played pretty well at home and then go on the road and they didn't play that well. And his line, and I don't remember exactly, and I can't ask him, he passed away not that long ago, but Bill Fitch, he said of the players that play well at home and then they go on the road, they're lounge singers, he said. And he said that's the way it's supposed to be, because if they played well at home and on the road, they would not be backups. They would be starters, and they would be like the baritone singer. They'd be the baritone boss, if you will. But such is life, right? And so the stars have to carry the way on the road and all that. And Devin Booker was not good enough. Kevin Durant was not good enough. They got some numbers, but they didn't get good enough numbers. And when the game was in the balance, they did not make enough plays. All right, last word here. So is there a map out? Is there a map? Can you type in an address into the GPS to get out of the deficit for the Suns? So we turn to a trusty tool, the Maller scale of panic, which is 1 to 10. The Maller scale of panic is 1 to 10, with 10 being you have become vaporized. That would be a 10. So the guys in Arizona are at a 9. They're at a 9 on the Maller scale of panic. Now, there is a map, but here's the problem. The map is, it's A, faded, and B, it's missing like a chunk of the map, and you don't know whether to go right or left. There's like a fork in the road. You don't know which way to go. However, if you look at this, Landry Shamet's going to play better in Game 6. There's a shot. Chris Paul comes back. Whoop-de-damn-do. And the problem is the arithmetic. There's some, as a former president said back in the day, there's some fuzzy math here. Because the Suns, the way and maybe I'm wrong on this, I just do the overnight show, but I believe the Suns have to win a game in Colorado to advance. So the way they've played in Denver, I have no evidence. Now, that's what has happened. It doesn't guarantee it's going to happen again. But based on what has happened, there's no evidence that that is close to happening. And as far as the temperature for Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets, all the vitals are normal. Everything is good. Things are bright and breezy and wonderful and great. It's rainbows and unicorns and puppy dogs and kittens and all that right now. Sunny days are here again. And Denver's been able to keep the Suns at bay in these home games. And if they just do that, they can win. And if they do that in the Western Finals, they'll go to the NBA Finals. And if they do that in the NBA Finals, well, they might, depending who they play, they might have home court in the NBA Finals too. So not a lot of stress right now. Just win at home. That's it. There's no home court advantage. Just win at home. It's not like there's no bubble. You don't have a bubble. There's no bubble.